What is up, everybody? Welcome to the first ever episode of Into the Necrosphere, a show that will be entirely dedicated to death metal, black metal, extreme music, and whatever the fuck else I feel like talking about. What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode 100 of Into the Necrosphere. Greetings, friends, and welcome to episode 200 of Into the Necrosphere. Wimps, posers, and cowards, do yourselves a favor and hit the bricks, because this is episode 300 of Into the Necrosphere. Welcome to a milestone episode, Legion, and if you are tuning in for the first time or whether you've been around since episode 1, a massive thank you to every single one of you for the time that you've invested into this podcast. Without you, none of this would be possible. And of course, given that this is a milestone episode, it requires a legendary guest. The legend in question this week is the Mighty Frost, drummer for Satyricon and 1349. We spent about 70 minutes together, and I'm not even going to go into detail about everything we discussed. Safe to say, in my opinion at least, this is probably one of the most revealing and open conversations I think I've ever heard him have. I hope you guys are going to enjoy it. It's going to be coming your way very shortly, but before we get to that, we need to set the mood, and who better to do so than Isaiah out of Portugal from their brand new EP featuring a high-ranking member of the Legion, Matt Prezzo from Conspiracy X, Spells of Torment, and Sick. This is Infernal Blasphemia.
This is Infernal Blasphemia! Missions, you for my mouth,
Infernal Blasphemia by Isaiah, taken from the EP of the same name, available right now on Maledict Records. If the second vocalist on that song sounded familiar to you, that's because that voice belongs to Matt Prizzo, highest of higher-ranking members of the Legion. He is also, of course, from Conspiracy X, Sick, and Spells of Torment. Wise decision by the Isaiah lads to recruit him, because that song is absolutely killer. The whole EP is great, and I will post, as always, the Isaiah Bandcamp link in the description to the podcast. So head over there, buy yourself some music, and let the gang know who it was who sent you. Before we go anywhere, a couple of quick announcements and reminders. The most important reminder, of course, is that I am a card-carrying member of the Cosa Nostra of podcasting, otherwise known as the Horsemen of the Podcasting Apocalypse. We are dedicated to filling your Monday through Sunday from wall to wall, bell to bell, with the highest quality entertainment, starting with Horrorwolf 666 every Monday, brought to you by Brandon Legion. Usually on a Tuesday, you get yours truly, old Jackson, crushing posers, slaying us. I almost fucking forgot my own strapline there, but you get the picture. Either way, as you can clearly tell, it is time for me to take a vacation, and I will be doing so, heading back to the motherland of South Africa this coming Friday for 5 glorious weeks. I will be back on January the 20th, but in the meantime, I'm going to leave you in the capable hands of my fellow horsemen, because on a Wednesday, we got your first double shot. Mike Hill from the band Tombs comes your way with Everything Went Black. We also have my very good friend, my brother from another mother, Cheyenne from the band Trivax, and his podcast, Iblis Manifestations. He is also on tour with Trivax as we speak. So if you're in Europe, make sure you try and catch Trivax, Apsu, and Ancient rolling through your burg at some point in hopefully the next couple of weeks. On a Thursday, we got another double shot. We have Necromaniacs. That sees the return of Mike Hill. He's also flanked by his co-hosts, the Sheriff Mike Scondado and the Professor Jeff Kashid. They review new and old horror movies. They're coming up to their Best of 2025 episode pretty imminently, and that is always one that I look forward to every single year. All of their episodes, frankly, are can't miss entertainment. So make sure you've subscribed to them if you're not already, or if you've not already done so. We also have on a Thursday and again on a Sunday, the sinister minister himself, the Reverend Carl Haikara, taking you through the dark, the weird, the arcane, and the esoteric on his podcast, Soul Knocks. And that is the entire lineup. When I'm away, you can also check out one of the many episodes that I put out this year. If you've not caught up on everything Into the Necrosphere related, please do so, but not before you stick around after my conversation with Frost, because I'm welcoming back the first ever Into the Necrosphere guest, Marco from Stellar Master Elite. He was my guest on episode 1. He is my co-host on the Weekly News Rant, and we got into a whole bunch of stuff, including answering questions from you, the Legion. We discussed the latest in the Vitriol drama. We ranked our favorite ever Immortal albums. And we also give you our first impression of new tunes by Fleshvessel, Slaughterday, Void Paradigm, and much more. That's coming up later on in the show. First up, though, sit back and enjoy as I welcome to Into the Necrosphere for the very first time, Frost from Satyricon and 1349. Welcome to Into the Necrosphere, sir. Great to have you here. Like I said to you, I've obviously known of you as Frost, the drummer, for a very, very long time. But I've also heard about you from a number of our mutual friends, including our good friend Swartolf. So great to have you here. How are you doing today?
Doing very well, thank you. I came back from today's rehearsal like 10 minutes before this taking place. Uh, um, I feel that it has been a good day at work, and that is always a very satisfying feeling at the end of the day. And it feels like I can now, have my evening cigarette and go to bed and feel good about this day. And in general, I think that I myself and both my bands are in a good place, so I have really nothing to complain about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys obviously are about to bring out the live album for 1349. I saw you play, by the way, at Fortress Festival earlier this year. Sensational, absolutely sensational show. And then, I think everybody is very excited to hear what new Satyricon is going to end up sounding like. But something I read about you the other day that I didn't know, and that I was curious to find out more about. I understand for the last probably 10 years, maybe more, you've been practicing yoga. Is that correct?
Yeah, I do yoga routines more or less every day. Sometimes shorter routines, sometimes just simple yoga stretches, and other times I do it for at least 45 minutes. And I do like a mix of routines and stretches, and I've kind of put together like several different programs of sort that I have constructed myself based on certain standard yoga programs, and I also picked out stretches that I find to work particularly well if I've been having a very very long explosive set behind the kit, for instance. So yeah, I've been doing that for many years, and I'm not sure if I would have been able to do what I'm doing these days without it.
What first got you into it? Was it just the kind of rigors or the stress of playing on your body and needing to find a way to cope with that?
Yeah, I suppose that was part of it. I've been fighting tendonitis and stiffness and fatigue for a very long time, which most extreme metal drummers do at some point, I guess. And I have a particularly strenuous and intensive way of playing, so you have to balance that by doing something that doesn't create more stiffness, but takes some of it away. Or else you will start to discover that you will never really get rid of these tendinitis and sore muscles, and you never manage to really recover. Nothing is enough, really. And you cannot rest your way to a healthy body without fatigue and stress. But yoga helps a lot. Yoga takes out mental stress, takes out stiffness in the muscles, it takes out physical stress. And it's just ideal for somebody doing something like I do. And I cannot really remember exactly how I began with it. I started to understand the importance of stretching out I guess 15, 20 years ago. And eventually I discovered that an even more effective way of doing stretches was to do it a bit more systematically. The way to yoga was pretty short in a way.
I did try yoga during lockdown when we were all stuck at home, and I've got to say I enjoyed it very much. I definitely felt a lot of benefits to it. Nowadays, I must confess I've probably been a little bit lazier when it comes to, not lazier, at the gym that I go to. I train at least 5 days a week, but at the gym that I go to, they don't really have an established yoga class. But it's interesting what you said about kind of developing the routines for yourself, because what I was working off of in lockdown was just videos off of YouTube, and even just doing those, I felt helped a lot from a mobility perspective, not having a sore back, especially if you're doing a job where you're desk bound and things like that. So I absolutely see the benefit to it, and I can imagine, especially for you, and as you say, the style and the way that you play, it must have been transformative.
Yeah, at least very, very helpful. I mean, it's not like when you discover yoga, a huge transformation happens overnight. It happens over time, and over a long time. And it's very important to be patient and to trust that, doing these yoga routines every day, even if they don't really help there and then, they will be beneficial to you. And also, it's the thing about yoga that, unlike just doing stretches, doing yoga in a slightly more systematic way makes you better at what you do. It's almost a bit like, regular exercise. If you lift heavy weights and do it regularly, you will get better at it, and you will get stronger and able to lift more, eventually. And it's the same thing with yoga, that if you do it regularly and put your heart into it, you will also notice that as you go on, you will get deeper into the stretches, and the stretches will be even more effective. And when you start to notice, these changes and developments, then you will also understand even more the importance of doing it.
And I definitely think, to your point around the style that you play, you have one of the most physically attacking styles of playing drums. I mean, certainly in black metal. I don't think there's any question about that. I think the only person who maybe does something similar, even though you guys sound very different when you play, is Faust. But I mean, it looks like it looks like you're beating the drums like it owes you money. So, the question for you, do you know, just out of curiosity, like how many calories you would typically burn over the course of an hour-long set with Satyricon or an hour-long set with 1349?
I have no idea really, but I mean, Satyricon had some kind of cooperation going on with the Top Athletes Academy here in Norway, and actually, part of that was getting to understand physical exercise and even yoga a little better, because we would find the best guides you could possibly have up there. But also, they learned, or they taught us a little about nutrition, diet, and calorie intake and all of that. And I mean to remember that a couple of the experts up at the academy had seen me playing and thought I probably burned several thousand calories just during a gig. So that's the only thing I really have to go by. I'm not an expert when it comes to that myself.
So it's interesting. You say you guys had a cooperation with it. Was this something that was arranged, where you reached out to them, or did they reach out to you? And kind of where did some of the, because it sounds almost like they were sort of coaching you guys for performance. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that was part of it. We haven't done a lot of that, but we did have a cooperation going on that involved some coaching. It involved talking to different kinds of experts in various fields that had something to do with top athletes' performances. Like some of them were particularly good at nutrition, others were particularly good training instructors, and we also talked to some top athletes and tried to learn how they managed to make their body work and how they managed to perform at the very, very top-notch physical level, at the very top of the world. So there was a lot to learn and a lot to gain from that. And I mean to remember that it was more a matter of them reaching out to us first. This is a long story. I'll try to make it short.
Oh, we got loads of time, so you go for it.
Peter has always been doing sports in various forms. He's been a footballer and a skater and a snowboarder. And I think that as he got to know some of the better skaters and snowboarders in Oslo and basically in the entire country, they were starting to invite him up to this top athletes academy called Olympiatoppen, basically to have him, just be around. And they said that exercise with us, you could use the training facilities up at this academy, and perhaps you could even, get some tutoring from some of the experts. You would probably love that. And eventually he just kind of grew into that environment, and he started to get to know these people, and they started to become curious about him and about Satyricon. And at some point they told him that if we were interested in sharing some of our own experiences and our own thoughts, telling us a little about the methods that we were using in order to become pros in our field, then they would love to hear that. And in return, they would, let us use their training facilities and put us in touch with these great coaches, trainer or tutors, and other pro people. And eventually it grew into a pretty active cooperation for a while. We were even taking part in some gatherings with top athletes people, and we were basically presenting our way to getting to the top in our genre. I think that was a very interesting period where both parties learned a lot. And I think that even if it isn't that active anymore, it's still something that we will benefit from for the rest of our careers.
Well, I think a lot of people overlook how physical of an endeavor playing metal music, playing extreme metal live actually is. And I've had conversations with folks about this before, where a friend of mine, for example, started singing for a quite prolific death metal band, and I said to him before they were about to go on tour, because it was the first time that he had done it, I said, like, if I were you, I'd get in the gym and I'd be doing cardio every single day of the week. You want to get yourself to a point where you're able to maintain this night in and night out, because it's not just a case of picking up a guitar, standing in front of the microphone and shouting. It's a very physically strenuous activity.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that part of being a top performer is also to have a strong head. And I think you get a stronger head from having a strong physique.
Yeah, because it gives you that empowerment to know that if I direct my body in a certain way, or if I will that I'm going to do something, that I can actually pull it off.
Yeah, and you expose yourself to a lot of stress when you exercise, and that will help you when you really enter the battle.
The mental game, I think, is something interesting. I was going to ask you whether that was something that came up, because I obviously, so the sports that I'm interested in, mixed martial arts, rugby, you start to see increasingly the use of sports psychiatrists and kind of folks that kind of focus on the mental coaching side of things as well. Was there any of that that they were able to share with you that benefited you in any way?
Yeah, certainly. We have had several conversations with a couple of great coaches that could tell us a lot about the psychology of top performance. And we spoke to everything from people that were coaching pilots to top athletes. And they were telling a lot about how you need your mental faculties, where your head is and where your body is, and you need to kind of cooperate with everything that is going on in your head. You have to understand the importance of thoughts and how to deal with a very changing environment. So most performers, for instance, will experience that they lose focus sometime on stage because things are happening which are out of their control, and then they lack the necessary tools in order to cope with that. And we were kind of given several of those tools by psychology people that were really, pros in their fields, telling us, that we have found, after having followed like several of the top athletes and these fighter jet pilots, who all of them needs to be very, very focused in their work. Well, they have found, how they manage to get that focus, and how there are some common techniques that are used in various fields of performance. For instance, that you can turn your focus to a very palpable thing when things are starting to get very rough. And if you start to lose focus, that will help you get back to the situation where you are, so that you don't really lose a second more than necessary. So you can imagine, for a fighter jet pilot in war, every second that you are out of focus could be deadly. So you have to learn these techniques, how to get back to top focus if you are about to lose it, because there is so much stress and because there are things out of your control going on all the time. And it's very much the same for artists performing, that on stage you can never be in total control. You could try, but you can never really be that, and you will always have those bad days where you have brain fog, where you start to forget things, and perhaps something has happened in your life that makes it impossible to be 100% present on stage. That's how it is to be human. But then there are these fine techniques that have kind of been collected by top people at this academy that I've been talking about, and they've kind of compiled a set of very, very useful instructions for how to get back to focus when you are about to lose it. And that has definitely been helpful. And personally, I'm using some of these techniques basically every time I'm on stage. Like, if I feel that I'm losing attention, if I'm forgetting where I am, if something brings me, out of focus, then I start to feel how the stick weighs in my hand. Then how how it touches the different fingers and all of that. And usually that brings me back to the here and now. Just to give an example then.
Have you ever had challenges or problems with performance anxiety?
Yeah, sure. I have always had it, and I will remain having that for the rest of my career, I'm sure. I think that I'm of the slightly neurotic type. That's part of how I am as a person, and that part of me is also a part of me as an artist. I cannot completely get rid of it. I do lots of routines, other types of routines than just yoga as well. That helps me becoming more, one with the art itself. But the slightly neurotic aspect will never lose grip completely. So for me, it's very, very helpful having some techniques that counter just that part of my personality, which doesn't really work for me, rather against me. But all people will have traits that work for them in the work that they have, and some traits that will probably work against them.
Well, I mean, I think that performance anxiety does sometimes come from it's a misguided sense of conscientiousness. So you have extremely high expectations of yourself. And because you have those extremely high expectations of yourself, at least this has been my experience of it, you're afraid of letting the people that you know are counting on you or have a degree of investment in you, you're afraid of letting them down. And that's where the performance anxiety comes from. I've said this before, I mean, about this podcast, and it's true of my professional life as well. I'll go through this process before I do almost every single episode of the show, where I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be a fucking disaster. This is where it all falls apart. And I mean, we're up to almost episode 300 now. And it's usually about 5 minutes in, 10 minutes into a conversation. It's like the conversation exhales and it starts to take on a life of its own. But it's good. The world has definitely changed an awful lot, because I mean, there certainly was a time where men just wouldn't talk about these things and they would internalize it. And I don't think that's healthy either.
Probably you're very, very right. And I can tell a little about the benefits of not, ignoring something that is very, very much there, and which is a hard reality for all of us.
So I wanted to talk to you about your drumming style and the evolution of your drumming style, because again, as I said, you don't only sound unique on record, but you also look and sound unique on stage. Like you have a lot of physical movement on stage that kind of almost reminds me more of classic rock drummers, kind of the very best of the best drummers from the 1970s, as opposed to extreme metal drummers. Yeah. How old were you when you first started to play the drums?
Some 14, 15 years. I started pretty late, I say. And I didn't really see myself as a drummer or as a musician at all. I was a fan of music, but I could hardly imagine that I should become a musician. I just wanted to feel how it was playing the drums, because I had a tendency to gravitate towards very intense music already as a youngster. And I was drawn to the physical energy of the drums, even if I actually cared a lot more about how the guitar sounded. But that physical element was always very, very important. And it was very important when I discovered Motorhead, which became my very first favorite band, which had a lot to do with the physicality that I sensed in that band, the energy and the rawness of it. And I discovered extreme metal pretty early, and I just wanted to feel that energy, and the best way of doing that would be playing the drums, because that's the most physical instrument. So that's really why I went there in the first place. I didn't really have a very musical or artistic way of entering it at all. It was some pretty basic feelings, that led me there.
How old were you when you heard Motorhead for the first time?
9.
And can you remember what song it was?
Iron Fist.
Ah, okay. Yeah. So my first taste of heavy music was AC/DC when I was 9. I'm a little bit younger than you are, but it's funny. Like I think for people that are diehards that'll be into this for the rest of their life, you'll never ever forget what that first experience was like when you heard the first song that set you on your path.
Yeah.
It is, I've described hearing AC/DC for the first time to people like discovering a missing limb. It was like some part of me had been missing, and when I heard that song, it was like I found it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me.
So with the drumming, granted you, or as you say, you had not initially planned to kind of stay, or be a drummer, be a musician. But what was it that made you keep at it and kind of made you, I guess you start to practice, start to learn more about the drums, and start to play it prolifically to the point where you could join a band?
Yeah, in the beginning, I think it was basically just exciting and fun, trying to see if I could play something that resembled the thrash metal that I was listening to at the time, and eventually some even darker and more extreme stuff as well. And as I started to manage to do something that could resemble extreme metal drums, I enjoyed just doing so for a while, and just having fun without having any proper plans, without having any kinds of systems or order at all. Just playing and having a good time behind the kit, and I felt that I could at least play something that resembled the kind of music that I liked. And I hooked up with somebody in the vicinity that would play along with me, and that perhaps didn't go as far as I did in terms of always trying to be faster and rawer, but we could still play some music, so that kept me going for a while. And when I started at high school, I found some people that truly shared my passion for extreme music, and we started the band at school. So we would typically rehearse a few days of the week after school time, and that was fun for a while. But still, I didn't take lessons. I didn't learn basics or anything. So after a couple of years with that, I felt that I weren't really progressing that much further, and I couldn't take it to the next level or anything. And I'm not even sure if I was really interested in doing so. I still saw myself more of a fan rather than a musician. But now those people that I were playing with at school, they were a bit like me, but perhaps slightly more ambitious. And these people ended up in pretty high-profile bands themselves. So one of these guys that that I shared a band with for a while was Faust, and he joined Emperor. I guess we moved from the Lillehammer area to Oslo around the same time in '92. And I had started studying and kind of given up on drums because I felt that I should rather stick to just, being a devoted fan, which was how I saw myself, rather than trying to pretend I was a musician, which I felt at heart that I was not. And then Faust approached me one day after I met up with him in Oslo, and he said that there is this band Satyricon that wants a drummer, and they asked me, but I have just joined Emperor now, so I'm rather busy. And I said that there is this other guy that I know that has moved to town, and he doesn't have a band. So I told them that they should contact you, and I gave them your contact information if that's okay. So then eventually Satyr, who had been in touch with Faust, he reached out to me and mentioned that he wanted the drummer for his band Satyricon, and we agreed to have a talk, and it was an interesting one. We also agreed that I should have an audition with the band, which was also kind of interesting, and I didn't feel that I was doing anything of value at that audition, but somehow Satyr saw something in me that I probably didn't really see or hear myself. And he understood that I wasn't really, a top-notch player, technically speaking, and I was even rusty because I haven't been playing for months. So, both a bad drummer and a rusty one at that. Not really the best combination, but he felt I had something that he was really looking for, which was a style. And somehow he felt that it sounded right. I just needed exercise and a little time, and then I would get it. So he said that he would like to not give up on this and try this a little more and see if I would perhaps step up and develop a little. And I gave it a little thought, and I said that I would give it a shot, and decided to try. And then I started to rehearse like a lot to just see if perhaps there was a chance that this could go anywhere. The music I heard from Satyricon, which was then at the demo stage, was more than just interesting. So I felt that perhaps this could turn into something very cool and unexpected. And the rest is history, as they say.
I was just about to say, do you know how surreal it is sitting listening to somebody who, I mean, I don't want to blow smoke, but I'm reasonably confident that you are regarded as one of the greatest, extreme metal drummers probably in the history of heavy music. So to hear you talk about it as though it's sort of something that happened despite what you thought was going to happen is wild. It's very cool too. It kind of adds to the story. But what were your first impressions of Satyr when you met him?
It took a little while before I understood that he was a very strong-willed individual with a particular expression, both as a person and as an artist. But I realized very quickly that he was very ambitious. To begin with, I was a little critical because I didn't know the guy. I knew he was a couple of years younger than me, and I was also a bit insecure about myself and whether I actually wanted to go anywhere with my drumming, and whether I actually felt prepared for joining a band and whether it was at all a good idea. So I entered that very first meeting with all of these rather skeptical, slightly negative thoughts. But eventually, after a pretty long conversation, I understood that this guy had some very, very clear ideas, and he was very certain about where he wanted to go with it, and he would definitely be one of those that would put his entire spectrum of resources into what he wanted to achieve. And eventually I felt that I wanted to join in on that endeavor, but that took a while. But I understood the ambition pretty right away.
How did he communicate that ambition to you? Like, how did he articulate was it in how he articulated his vision for the band, or was it just kind of generally how he carried himself as a man?
Yeah, both. He would be the kind of guy that would explain a little what he wanted to achieve, what he wanted for the drummer, or what he wanted out of the drummer for this pretty new band that he wanted to take to a pretty different place. And his his eyes would really, really be fixed at you as he was explaining it, and I understood that he had a lot of confidence in these ideas, and you could kind of sense that the ambitions came from somewhere, and from somewhere solid. And yeah, that was basically how he carried himself. That with a lot of clarity whenever he talked about very serious things, and if he talked about something else, he could easily, lose the thread and get, almost out of touch with himself. But as soon as he talked about anything serious, he would be very, very fixated on that subject, and he would speak with perfect clarity and with confidence, and with that unique ability to persuade.
He's somebody who I have a lot of admiration for people who are very successful on their own terms. And when I say very successful, I mean successful at a commercial level, successful artistically, but also successful professionally. I think a lot of people look at him and they look at the fact he drives a nice car, he's got his wine business, he's done very well with Satyricon, and there's kind of this bizarre sort of resentment to me where folks they have a particular perception of him that I think comes from a place of envy rather than the ability to look at somebody from our scene who's done really well for themselves in life and go, fuck yes, that's a guy whose example I would like to follow. What from you knowing him for as long as you have, what do you think is the biggest misconception that people have about Satyr?
Yeah, it's exactly this thing that they envy him for many things, and they envy him for what he has achieved and for those things he's surrounding himself with. You mentioned, a nice car, and he has a collection of nice watches. He has a blooming wine business, and all of that. But there is nothing of that that he hasn't worked very, very, very hard for, and none of it has just come to him. He has been putting down all the effort, and and I think that given what he has achieved in various fields, he's a pretty modest guy. I don't see him as that type that is almost, boasting of his own success. He's not a Trumpian guy at all. So I never feel that he's bragging or try to put up some kind of a performance to illustrate that he is on top of all things despite not being so. I think the opposite. It seems to me that he is on top of most things, but he's downplaying it. And it's like, he has an interest for cars. And at some point, he got himself a racing car, and he didn't want to do races, just, try to feel how it is to drive a racing car. And then he was talked into, participating in a race, and just with minimal practice, he managed to get in third in a competition, which was just surreal. And it shows, how much dedication he puts into any kind of task that comes his way. So he's not afraid of entering new fields and areas, whether that being sports or music or something completely different. And I never feel he's bragging about those things at all. And he has managed to set up a wine business that's doing exceptionally well, and in a matter of a few years, he managed to establish the most sold wine brand in the entire country of Norway. And he's typically telling so little about it to people around him that there are people in his family that don't even know, So even if I know people that find him to be, bragging and boasting and like always hitting himself on the chest, I see something that is pretty much the opposite.
I would also add, I think all of these people that are quick to point the finger, and weirdly enough, they always seem to have an issue with the car. If he threw down the keys to that Porsche on a table and he said to any one of those guys, "You can have that if you'd like," they would be fucking falling over themselves to get that. So, I mean, I am a very big fan of a Porsche as well. So I completely support him and salute him for what he's done as far as the cars are concerned. Of course, I like wine too. So, you mentioned something interesting earlier around him being attracted to the fact that you had a style of your own. So I think the first question I want to ask you there is, this style of yours, we've touched on it before. It's very physical, but you're an incredibly expressive drummer. And if you go all the way back to dark medieval times, like you could hear it there, you could hear it on the Shadow Throne. I feel like where that really came to the fore was on Nemesis Divina. Like you could really hear, like this is somebody whose approach to drumming is incredibly unique in the scene, and is in many ways it's kind of, and I'd love to get your commentary on this. You had managed to bridge that gap between your instrument being an extension of your personality and it's simply being theory. You understand? You understand what I mean? It's like when you play, you're playing what you feel, not necessarily what you think is the right thing to do at the time. But how much scope does he allow you, or did he allow you in those early days to kind of be yourself, to express yourself, and to bring that style of yours, that unique style, into the band?
I think I had quite some room, and I think it would be difficult to deny me that room for as long as I was not to be kicked out of the band, because for as long as I was accepted as the drummer, it was basically impossible to have me doing things in a radically different way. I was almost not allowing it to happen. I felt that if I was to to play, I needed to be in touch with certain parts of myself, which were, the entire reason that I played the instrument in the first place. And I felt that without it, I wouldn't really have anything. So you couldn't accept me as a drummer without accepting that way of, connecting with parts of the personality. That was just how I did it, and I couldn't see any other way. And I guess that at least up until Volcano, even if we had some fights about how things were to be done, Satyr would allow me to find my own way, and then just try to guide me, so that we could somehow find a set of drum solutions that we both could live with. So, he would have certain expectations of how the drums would be in certain parts, and in other parts I would be allowed to kind of just create drum parts from scratch myself, and he wouldn't interfere. So yeah, it would basically end up as a mix of his idea, but my take on his ideas for the drums, and things that were entirely coming from my head, and in the end it would very much sound like how I perform, because there's so much of that, energy and way I approach the kit. And I think that at some point that became a little too dominant. So especially, in between Rebel Extravaganza and Volcano, Satyr felt that we needed to structure the music a little more, and that I had to be, part of that structuring. And there was some back and forth and some quarreling, I believe, but eventually I understood that he had some valuable points, and I started to follow him on that one, and also choosing a slightly more tamed response, should we say. It was very untamed up until that point. So yeah, I think that I played as my own heart and had dictated, for good and for bad, for quite a while. And eventually I tried to discipline myself a little, and perhaps start to become a little self-critical, not not just accepting everything that would immediately come to my mind when trying to make some drum parts, but also take into consideration what was happening on the guitars, whether there were supposed to be vocals or not, and the flow of the song, and the expression of the songs, and how certain songs perhaps shouldn't have lots of blast beats in them, but perhaps have more rock-based grooves instead, etc. And that was a good school for me. Happy that Satyr had the patience to drag me through it and kind of force it through, because it was for the better.
One of my favorite Frost moments, like whenever you think of your favorite musicians, you always think to a specific lick that a guitarist played, or a specific drum fill that somebody did. One of my favorite things that you did in the early days of Satyricon is on Do Some Hearted Good on Nemesis Divina. You do like a roll in the last verse of the song that literally, it sounds like the roll is done purely on the snare drum. And I always thought about that as like the machine gun roll. And it sounds, for whatever reason, it's such a high point of the song for me. It almost feels like it's like bookending just how aggressive and how punchy the song should sound. Do you know the bit that I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
Well, how did that come about?
No, that was simply me playing what I felt like there and then. Like I did it for a lot of the time. but it was that that was how I did it, at least until well, until around the 2000s, that I just played things the way I felt them. Like the solutions would basically come to me instinctively. Sometimes I elaborated on what just bumped down into my head, but like the basic structures were very intuitive.
Has Satyr ever come to you with an idea for where he wants to take the band that you've kind of listened to as he's presenting it, and you've gone, I'm not so sure about this?
Absolutely.
Can you share which that was?
I believe that was after Rebel Extravaganza. He was starting to talk about taking Satyricon in a direction that I didn't completely understand. And I was so immersed in that world of old school black metal, corpse paint, like the whole shebang. I just felt very connected to it. I felt it was such a great part of being a black metal performer. It was a great part of the style of it all. And it was a personal thing. And when he mentioned that he thought that we shouldn't get too stuck in it, and we shouldn't be too rigid about it, and he wanted to bring more rock-based elements into Satyricon, and perhaps starting to do more, easily recognizable structures like verses and choruses and bridges, and having repetitions. And I mean, I was kind of fine about it because I've loved rock-based black metal for a long while, and I mean, that was the case back then. I was very fond of Venom and Battery and Celtic Frost, which were all about classical rock-based structures, and the original black metal was indeed made that way. So I wasn't really opposed to having some of that, but to take away all the intensity and perhaps slow things down a little, calm things down. That was not something I was really prepared to. I just wanted to see if I could get the engine in a higher gear all the time, and we had brought in a lot of intensity on Rebel Extravaganza, and I was very prepared to build on that and see if we could take it further. And then he came and said that he wanted to put his foot on the brakes rather than the throttle, and perhaps also to see if we needed to do the full corpse paint and spikes and bullet belts and leather, as part of our imagery on all albums. Perhaps we could try something else and try to see if we could perhaps build something that wasn't really there from before and not part of any kind of standard or cliche. And yeah, I was opposed to that in the beginning, but eventually I saw that that approach had merits as well.
Well, what was it that changed your mind?
I think that we needed to have several conversations about that, but Styr was very clear about where he wanted to go, and he always managed to bring me a little further along the line that he wanted to follow. And as I started to hear that great music was being made, which eventually ended up as the songs for Volcano. Then I was a little more comfortable going that way, and I would be willing to follow on for a while longer, and eventually we managed to find some kind of common ground.
And I do think, I mean, the shift from Rebel Extravaganza to Volcano is very significant. But Rebel Extravaganza in itself, I always felt it was a very misunderstood album, and it always felt to me like that album was a reaction to where a lot of other black metal bands had gone after like 1994, 1995. A lot of bands had started to experiment a lot more. The gothic stuff was coming in. There's more, it just, things had gotten soft. And then you guys turn out this just astonishingly aggressive, intense, uncompromising black metal album that, again, I almost feel like it was people didn't know what to make of it because it was a couple of years out of step with its time.
Exactly. I think that you hit the nail on the head there, describing Rebel Extravaganza and perhaps the idea behind it, and it indeed was a reaction to what was going on. It wasn't only that, but that was a large part of it, and we were very, very certain that we didn't want an album that would put more emphasis on the softer and more gothic side of black metal. We would certainly show that we wanted to show that there was another grimmer direction for this to take.
You often sound like, when I listen to, so because around about the time that you guys would have been working on Volcano is when you got involved in 1349, and 1349 I've always had this kind of feeling since, I mean, all the way to Hearing Liberation for the first time, like with the change that Satyricon made in its sound, 1349 was a way for you to kind of still retain that old school grim, uncompromising black metal feel. And that almost in some ways frees you up to be able to do the different things that you've been doing with Satyricon. Is that an accurate read?
That is a very accurate read. And I've said in quite a few past interviews that for me it was quite a bit of luck that I found 3049 just at the point when I did, because I for sure didn't want to give up on that most extreme side of my expression, because I felt that it was something that I had in me that I wanted to develop further, but at the same time, as Satyricon wanted less rather than more of that, it was just a relief that I could find a different arena for expressing just that part of myself and my own playing style. So yes, that also made it easier for me to relax a little more in Satyricon and to focus on a very different kind of development, for sure. And I'm very glad for that to this very day.
And the thing is, I think again, we were talking earlier about how people they don't recognize the amount of physical dedication it takes to perform. I also don't think they recognize the dedication to your craft it takes to be subtle and be effectively subtle. And I've often admired the way that you brought that subtlety into, like, you can hear Volcano from a drumming perspective is a there's a evolution that's taking place there. And then where I feel in the Satyricon discography, like I really heard you completely nail that subtlety for the first time, like to a point where you go, okay, this is like, you've added this dimension fully to your arsenal now, was on To the Mountains of Now Diabolical.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I certainly think that I will. Let's say that I have not at all come to the end of my path, as far as should we say refinement goes. I think that Satyricon continued to develop in that direction also after Volcano and now Diabolical and I guess that on an album like Deep Calls Upon Deep, we have taken that sense of refinement even further, subtleties and this combination of something that almost sounds utterly simple and stripped down, combined with something that is very progressive and intense and very much all over the place. That process is ongoing, and it could be that To the Mountains was like a first kind of moment. I guess that there were some passages on Volcano where I felt that I managed to be a little more focused on simple and subtle solutions for the very first time, and to me, I guess the development that I went through was a bit more expressed and more profound between Rebel and Volcano than between Volcano and Now That Volgo.
I have one example in my mind on Volcano, but I'm curious to know, if you think about some of the performances that stand out to you on Volcano, that's kind of part of that evolution. Which songs stick out in your mind?
Rather than songs, I think of passages. So there are certain passages in With Ravenous Hunger, for instance, where I felt that I managed to do beats that actually had some grooviness and also being rather simple and stripped down, and which were types of solutions that I wouldn't have managed to pull off successfully just a year or two earlier. And there would be parts of an intense song like The Scorn Torrent where we managed to take everything completely down and almost making it completely naked, and this transparent kind of themes with very, very transparent beats. And I felt we managed to do them on Volcano for the first time, and those are two examples. This very, very, very rather simple stripped down parts of With Ravenous Hunger and The Scorn Torrent would be Rebel Extravaganza, of course, then, but Mental Mercury was what I was thinking about. Yeah.
The one I've got in my mind is Angstridden. I think that point where you go from like almost playing the sort of classic rock beat to apocalypse double bass it's such a kind of jarring shift, but it works so perfectly in the song. Like the way that you bridged the gap into going from simple to extreme on that song, I just thought was phenomenal.
Yeah. Cool that you like it. I mean, to remember those were a few of the more difficult parts.
You touched earlier on, being in high school and knowing Faust and playing with him, and kind of, I know from the conversations I've had with Swartolf that you guys were kind of all around the old school, the OG scene. Did you ever imagine in your wildest dreams that black metal would turn into what it has become?
No, that's the simple answer.
What are
I
your
think
what are your
I think
thoughts
I
on
think
where it is
none of,
today?
I think none of us would have come even close to thinking that thought. And
What are
none of us
your
would have
thoughts
thought
on?
that we would be around, so many years later.
Yeah. What do you think of where it is today?
I could think so many things. I choose to focus on those things that are relatively close to me and my own bands, and I'm very happy with where we are. I think that both Satyricon and 3049 have managed to stay relevant, to stay vital, managed to develop significantly from album to album, and I still feel that both bands have several more albums in them. Whether that is actually gonna materialize, I don't know, but I have pretty strong feeling, almost a conviction that there should be at least 2 or 3 more albums from both bands, which I think is man, that's a feat, because none of those bands would carry on if stagnation kicked in.
Mm.
Definitely not Satyricon, but we couldn't live with that in 3049 either. If we came to a point where we felt that we could do nothing else but repeat ourselves, or even take a step down the ladder, it would be game over.
Mm.
And since we aren't there, and having set those standards for ourselves, I feel very fortunate and thankful that I found bands that manage to actually keep alive and vital, and where evolution takes place. And I'm very, very adamant that evolution should take place in my own drumming also. And I will never just allow stagnation to happen on my own part. So that's why I come back entirely exhausted from rehearsal just prior to this, because I feel that we have work to do, and it's work that matters. It's work that's really going somewhere. So I'm happy about status quo in both bands. And for the scene, I would only say this brief thing that certain parts of what is going on is downright sad and very boring. I think that there is too much retrospective, or let us say that a retrospective approach is almost valued as something holy, and it's being extolled as this huge virtue, which I feel that it's definitely not. And I think that mediocrity and very, very set standards from a long, long time ago play too much of a role. But since I also see that there's still plenty of room for bands that are not adhering to old set standards or cliches, and are not set in their ways, but continue to evolve and take things further, well, then I'm relatively happy. And I can feel we can do that, and I feel we could do it with enough success that we manage to keep the business going. And I see that there are some other bands that are also part of it. So it's not an all sad story at all.
Frost, thank you so much for your time. This has been an incredibly interesting and enjoyable conversation, and I hope at some point down the road we will be able to do it again sometime.
I thank you for a fine conversation as well. I guess it might be Dave where you are now, but
no, I'm based in the UK.
Yeah.
So yeah, no,
then I
it's
wish you a good
quarter past
rest of
9.
the evening. Okay, and see you at the next crossroads.
Chasing dragons! Chasing dragons, sick of your private state of mind. The lives that run us lost, awake the beast inside. Sick of all meaning, all day feeling. And your shape would be all the right. Get ready to fight. And all we're ready to tackle our bullshit is Vitriol, the fight inside. Copy of the house and give your courage. I'm sleeping missionary. On stake, expectation of hope, strength. For the mind, body and heart, an ultimate touchdown. Your presence, all your pain. Got to faith, only after instincts while you stand. Picture the face of your possible death. Silence you to your delivered soul. Catch it out. Some laws, yet so far as the prison zone is observation. Furious fight from my heart. United, you're dying. I'll stay down. Yeah, last night is one dire city. The blast shower. Irrational behaviors not human accepted. But humanity is no longer a nation. Irrational feeling is non-existent. The older reality is the ongoing fact. Coldness and weakness, regaining strength to fight on when all the pain is gone. Who's that? The waking of a new chase is all for the strong.
Wrapping up a sensational conversation with Frost from Satyricon and 1349. That was 1349 with Chasing Dragons, taken from their new live album Winter Mass. That is available on Season of Mist. I believe it's out on Digipack and on limited edition vinyl. So you can pick that up directly from Season of Mist, or you can head over to the 1349 Bandcamp and avail yourself of the record and also their other records there. Huge thank you to Frost for his time. What a fucking great guy and what a great guest. Really made this episode something very special, and I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation as much as I did recording it. Now, if you will indulge me, I just want to say thank you to a couple of folks. Given the tenor of this episode and the celebratory nature of what we're doing here today, first and foremost, I have to say massive thank you to Katie from Suspiria PR. She has been responsible for so many landmark guests that I have had on this show. She was responsible for Gaul on episode 100. She was responsible for Attila on episode 200. And she was responsible for Frost on episode 300. She is not only one of the very best people working in the industry today, she's also somebody that I have come to consider a close friend, and she's shown so much belief and so much faith in this podcast from the very beginning. I really owe her a debt of gratitude, and for what it's worth, I really, I can't find the words to say thank you enough, frankly. I also want to say thank you very much to Nathan from Gutter Prince Cabal, Connor from Apocalyptic Witchcraft, Claire from Nuclear Blast, Liz from Earsplit, Dom, one of my favorite people in the industry from 3 Nation PR, everybody from Fortress Festival, everybody from Beyond the Gates. Thank you so much for making me part of those events this year. My brothers in the Horsemen of the Podcasting Apocalypse. I mean, the fucking very best of the best men to be surrounded by doing this. And then the many friends that I have made doing this show. Swartalv, Kelly McCoy, Matt Wilcox, Sam Bean, Jason Pepiat, Chris Pervelis, Drew Goth, Matt Prizzo, Necros Horns, Justin Coleman, Scott Bamford. I'm very sure I've forgotten some people, but I don't want to keep you guys here for the next 10 minutes as I run through a roll call of my Into the Necrosphere homies. But I do have to give one more shout out, and that is to my executive producer and my wife. Even though she's probably not going to hear this, I want to say thank you very much to Paige for the incredible patience that she shows when I do this podcast, when I go out to festivals, the help that she gives. A lot of you guys always point out whenever you see us at festivals, she's always busy setting up cameras, setting up the microphones. I mean, she's just fucking awesome. And I'm so lucky to be married to her, and I want to say massive, massive thank you to her. Usually I send people packing right before the news rant, but frankly speaking, the Springboks just beat Wales 73-0 in Cardiff. I'm celebrating a 300 episode milestone, and I'm flying business class to South Africa on Friday, so I'm in such a fucking good mood. If you haven't hit the bricks yet, you're more than welcome to stay, as I welcome my very good friend Marco from Stellar Master Elite for the Weekly News Rant.
Round them up for judgment. And hang them where the world can see.
Welcome back, young man. I think we're actually going to manage to do this one without having to do 15 takes to get it committed to the old hard drive. But it's great to see you again.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah.
Thank you for the invitation for episode 300.
Oh, how
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much. I was about to say, how could I not have you here, mate? The man who kickstarted it all. And you know something? I was gonna say this to you. I don't know whether I've specifically called it out, but the song that made me want to talk to you was Ad Infinitum off Holograph Temple. I love the whole record, but it was that song that like just bored itself into my brain. And I was like, there must be some fucking wild man who is responsible for putting this together. And then of course I met you, and obviously they say don't meet your heroes, but I'm only joking your chain. But it was that song that sparked me to want to speak to you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I can remember it was a guy you know that was like hitting me up saying like, yeah, my friend Jackie there, he wants to start a metal podcast, and would you like to be on his show? And I was like, yeah, cool, why not? And yeah, then I can still remember when we tried to get like show number 1 going, and nothing worked out, and we were both super frustrated.
Oh, what a shambles, man! I mean, I'd originally I envisioned it to be a live stream. Every podcast was going to be a live stream. Remember that. We had like 2 people for the live stream, and then we realized this is a fucking disaster. And then we went back and forth, and eventually got it done. And I'm very glad we did. And I'm very glad it was that song that got me interested in doing it. But
nice.
Quick one before we get started properly. How have you been? I know you were in Belfast over the weekend. Got to see Conan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I flew there. I came in to Belfast on Friday night. Then went to see Conan on Saturday, and I went back home on Sunday morning. So, so 1.5 days in Belfast, yeah. But the gig was absolutely great. The sound was nice.
At the very point we're recording this, Monday evening at 6:30, they've just finished their first song.
Yeah, basically yes. No, but it was awesome, really. Like I love the location there as well. It's some kind of upstairs. Pub location, basically. I don't know how many people it fits, maybe 150 to 100 maybe, so it was nice and cozy.
Well, I think let's kick off with a question, because I had one that was specifically for you. Now bear with me 1 second, because I want to credit the person who actually asked it. Valeria Dominguez says, "Hi, what is the top 5 bands of Marco?" I can waver a guess here and say number 1, Culture Club, 2, Burzum, 3, Bros.
George Michael is, well, it's technically not a band, so you're right, but yeah.
All right, so top. I don't think I even know what your top 5 bands are. I think I can guess who your favorite band is, but I don't know about top 5.
It's always a super, super hard question. Of course, like I grew up with things like Deep Purple, Black Sabbath, like the usual stuff, because my dad is really into that stuff. So naturally I grew up with that as well. But are we talking about black metal or in general?
Anything.
So I think my top favorite band of all time would be Pink Floyd, especially Up Until the Wall, because I really don't. I'm not into that album, but the stuff before that. Then I grew up like after that. That's it's like the usual thing. When you develop your musical taste further, you come out of that like dead rock stuff, and then you look for your own, and then I would say Metallica, because I think the first Metallica record I listened to was Justice for All, and I think that's still my favorite. Then it got a bit more extreme, and then I would say Darkthrone.
That was my guess. I thought you were going to say Darkthrone's your favorite.
If it was about black metal, then I would have said Darkthrone is my number one. But if we are like on a global scale here, I would say Pink Floyd, Metallica, old Metallica, of course, Darkthrone. Wow, it's so hard, really. Then I got heavily influenced by the early stuff of Sleep as well. So maybe I would put them there. On place number 4. It's number 5. Wow. It's really hard to answer, because I can
number 5 like biscuits in the house.
Exactly. No, but yeah, well, you were asking me the question before, and it's always so fucking hard to answer, and I thought about that since our first try on Saturday, and I think I revised it a bit.
What's I mean, it's always for me, what's the first one that comes to mind?
First one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Umbra Omega and the last album, I would say Dirt Times God.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so Valeria didn't ask for mine, but I'm going to give it anyway. Akrikaka, the Antichrist Imperium, Mayhem, Behexen, and trying to think who else. See, there's a lot of bands who I like 3 or 4 albums out of the discography, but I don't like everything. Morbid Angel is a good example of that. I mean, like, I actually do like most Morbid Angel albums. I am obsessed with Blessed Are the Sick and with Altars of Madness and Covenant. But I can, I wouldn't necessarily say I'm listening an awful lot to Gateways to Annihilation. Same with Deicide. Like, first 3 Deicide albums, masterpieces. Maybe I would put Marduk in there. But also, again, I mean, for me, Marduk is like the Marduk I really love is Mortus Marduk. I don't care about the stuff with Legion. I'll have to think about that as well. We'll circle back to our final picks.
Let me say something. Sorry for talking over you again, but let me say, like, I based my my decision now on let's say milestones. So, and of course, there's shitloads of bands in between which are absolutely great, but that would be too many to mention. That would be another like an episode on its own.
Well, maybe one day we'll do a 666 countdown, but we'll do like an all genres countdown. So, like, rather than just focus on metal, maybe we do like one. It's like 6 genres, and then you have to choose like one, like your favorite band per genre. So we've got like death metal, black metal. I mean, we could even throw in, if we want to get really buck wild, we can throw hip hop in there.
We can even throw prog in there just for your.
Well, I'll tell you something. A lot of people, I don't necessarily agree, but a lot of people have been saying that the new Lamp of Murmur has got some prog influences. I really like that album. That you talk about a record that took me by surprise this year. I enjoyed the previous Lamp of Murmur stuff, but this new album is fucking spectacular. So,
I haven't listened to it yet, but their previous records were quite cool as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. All right, let's listen to some music to get us started now. From your native land, Sodom premiere a new video clip. It says here, Sodom have revealed a new music video for Sodomized featuring Lemmy Kilmister, creator Nick A. Anderson from Entombed, the Helicopters, and of course the legendary lineup of Sodom. Let's hear what it sounds like. This is one that's pretty short, sharp, and sweet. So we're just past the halfway mark of the track. I think anybody knows what it sounds like. But I got to tell you, it sounds fucking great. I mean, the actual song itself, obviously, I know the original, but this new remix, the mix itself, sounds fucking fantastic. I really like it.
I love how it sounds, especially because it's a new remix, but I love the drum sound in that. And I think Steif was, I think that it was Sodom's tightest and fastest drummer, which they had. So I love that guy. So sadly he passed away earlier this year, but but he was a great drummer, and I love that mix, and I can't wait for the whole album to listen to that remixes.
No, I mean, again, there's not much more to say aside from the fact that this, I think, underlines why Sodom is such a legendary band. Did you, by the way, ever get to see that Destruction documentary?
Yes, it was actually really interesting.
Yeah, it was.
Especially,
I felt like the one comment that I had, and I mean this constructively, so it's not I'm not hating, but I do feel like they stumbled onto such an interesting story, because obviously the original intent was to film the band trying to get together a Teutonic Big Four tour, and then COVID happens and obviously everything changes. I do feel like I wonder how much footage was left on the cutting room floor and how much more interesting the show would be if potentially some of that were included. Do you understand what I mean? I feel like there was not enough focus on some of the things that were happening behind the scenes, because you can imagine for somebody like Schmier, what an existential crisis that must have been. You know, your whole life is wrapped up in that band, and you don't know whether you're ever going to get to play live again.
Yeah, but I think they covered it quite well in that documentary, actually, because the main part of that documentary was about that COVID time, and of course you could feel that it was like an existential threat to them, especially when it's your main source of income, like Schmier, for example. I don't know if the other guys were working still, but I guess Schmier. I know that he had some kind of restaurant somewhere where he comes from, but I think he wasn't doing that anymore while they shot the documentary there. But yeah, that must have been scary.
Well, it's also not like restaurants had it easy during COVID either. I mean, I think there's some places where I read that the restaurant closure rate, as in closed, never to reopen, was something like 75% of restaurants within certain cities or within certain locations shut down and they never reopened.
Yeah, it was absolutely scary for me as well when that happened here, because with all that with all that regulations that you could only let in like people that were vaccinated. I'm not anti-vaccination and whatnot, but I think that was kind of brutal because you could see everyone struggling, everyone thinking about new possibilities to get customers and to make some money, and it was. I have never seen something like that in my life,
No.
really, and I hope we will never see that again because that was absolutely not cool. Really.
Totally agree. And also, it does feel surreal sometimes to think back to it and realize it was only 3 years ago that we were sat here despairing. Didn't we do the Christmas episode in 2022? I think it might have been 2022.
Was that when I had my glorious moustache?
It was,
so.
Yeah. All right, moving on to some more questions. Grind Your Mind 77 asks, I'm curious what you think about the Vitriol situation. When he was on the show, I found it hard to take him seriously. That's Grind Your Mind's question, words, not mine. Sometimes it's like these boys live in a weird sphere where they believe all their own rhetoric and throw stuff out there, almost like they become caricatures of what they think extreme is. So just to get everybody up to speed, in case you don't know what happened, which you really would be going out of your way not to pay attention to the metal scene if you don't know what happened. But long story short, Kyle and his now former bandmates decided one night last week to get their skis on and do a bit of dabbling in the old snow. Which I think is a more eloquent description of what they did than what Kyle used on the ensuing video. But anyway, by all accounts, they had a raucous time. Some paranoia kicked in, tempers flared, and next thing you know, Kyle, his girlfriend, and their dog was left by the roadside as the rest of the band quit en masse and absconded with the tour money. That prompted Kyle to drop a 40-minute epic where he told the tale of his night on the nose beers, as he described them, wept profusely, and basically, in my view, declared Vitriol dead, and asked fans to donate via his GoFundMe to help him and his girlfriend get back home to Portland, Oregon. Have I missed anything? Any details there?
I don't think so. But did you watch that 40-minute video?
No, I couldn't. I'm a grown man with responsibilities. I can't watch 40 minutes of a guy sobbing. Now, let me just caveat whatever I'm about to say in terms of my immediate thoughts with the fact that I had Kyle on the podcast, as everybody knows. The dude I had on the show seemed like a good guy. He made for a great conversation. I still get comments about that conversation to this day. Everything I'm about to say, I'm saying in the spirit of concern, at least for the most part. But what I would point out, and this is my first instinct watching that video, is that there was a distinct lack of accountability in what he was saying, the parts that I saw. And as I said, I didn't watch the whole thing. I have also watched several breakdowns of it, and no one actually points out anywhere where he necessarily takes it upon himself to own up to what happened. He seems to suggest that his anger issues were well known to his other band members, and then he kind of dives headfirst into a display of victim blaming, frankly, where he almost seems to say that because people knew that he's got anger issues, well, they should just have understood what was to come when he started getting aggressive. Now, I mean, I think it's one thing to be a wild man or a wild woman when you're in your teens or in your early 20s, but Kyle is 36 years old. You need to realize that, if your behavior becomes so unbearable that people find it impossible to be around you, then it's up to you to get under control the habits or the behaviors that cause that, or you need to be prepared to pay the price. I want to comment on the GoFundMe piece separately because there's a bit of a crease to that tale too. But Marco, your thoughts on at least kind of the initial situation, blow up, abandonment in Vermont?
That's a tricky one, to be honest, but also not. But we obviously weren't there, and we don't know what really happened there. But I can imagine like a bunch of guys being in New York, being high on coke for like what for long did he say, like 2 days or something like that?
I think it was
And
something
then,
like 2 days.
yeah, and then if I can, I mean, I like obviously don't take drugs, but I can imagine the calm down of that is kind of hard.
Mm.
So, and if you're on the edge, then I mean, fights can happen. But it seems a bit strange to me that like basically everyone except his girlfriend and his dog gave up on him at the same time. You know,
Well, he's
I mean, but
also gone
just let me say,
through. Oh, sorry, yeah, we're going to say.
I mean, it's kind of the consequence of like kicking someone out in the middle of nowhere and then leaving him without. I mean, they could have at least like kicked him out at the next train station or bus station or whatnot. But kicking someone out in the middle of nowhere, that suggests that the issues may have been harder than we told. You know, I mean, I obviously don't know the guy, but if your whole band is leaving you somewhere, then it might be that you're the problem and not the others.
Well,
I
I mean, here's an interesting data point for you. So he has, as things stand right now, 10 former band members. But the interesting thing about those former band members is that, and in fairness, I mean, the band has obviously not been around for, technically speaking, they've been around since 2013. So I guess actually I'm contradicting myself here. But the majority of the exits have occurred inside of the last 4 years, or the overwhelming majority of the exits in the last 2 years. Now, if I were to look at it purely from a data analytics perspective, and I didn't know anything else, no further context, that would suggest to me that somewhere along the line, the dude's life or his behavior seems to be either getting worse or spiraling out of control. But I mean, something's clearly aggravating the situation, because to your point, if everybody left him, and this is not the first time that he's fallen out with bandmates, in a relatively short period of time, I certainly hope that he sees this as a fork in the road and he makes some pretty tough decisions relative to his lifestyle, and relative to the way that he conducts himself around other people. Because I think otherwise, I think sadly, and I like Vitriol, so I hope this isn't the end for the band, but I think it will be the end of the road for the band.
But was he at that point, like at that last gas station thing that happened, was he the only original member of the band, or?
Yes, he was, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, he
So
was.
it's some
Was.
So it's some kind of Megadeth situation there.
Potentially. Although in fairness, I prefer his music to Megadeth. I don't think he'll put out anything as terrible as Megadeth's "I Don't Care." Now, here's one thing I just wanted to say as well. I mentioned GoFundMe, so he put out a GoFundMe to raise $2,500 to help him get back to Portland. The GoFundMe by the end of day one had raised, I think, and I speak under correction on this, but just north of $9,000. And I think by the time that it closed up, he had just over $10,000 in donations. He then goes online, very eloquently says that everybody that didn't donate can go fuck themselves, but to the people that did, he didn't realize that GoFundMe automatically increases the target amount every time that you exceed a certain goal.
That's what I thought as well.
Which is not true. I went and I double checked this. Somebody else on another YouTube channel pointed this out as well. Apparently, it is you basically have by default manual control to increase or decrease your goal at any time. And there is automated goal setting, but it's opt-in, so you have to opt in order for GoFundMe to naturally increase your goal. Now, it could be that in setting everything up, I've never set up a GoFundMe, so I don't know how it works. But it could be that he accidentally opted in. I don't know, but still, I think when you fuck, like, there's a lot of things that people will forgive, but when you fuck around with money in any way, shape, or form, then you're starting to I think you're toying with fan loyalty that you're not going to be able to get back.
it's not about it's not about the money. It's about like the trust. Like
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
like how expensive can the US of A be that you need like 9K to get home from one point to the other in that country?
Yeah.
That's a bit, and yeah, I don't know how the moderation there is in at GoFundMe, but somebody should have been like, hey, you need to go from where was he in Vermont?
I believe it was Vermont. Yeah.
And going to where?
Portland, Oregon.
Yeah, well, it's a huge distance, but I think that's like 2.5K would have been enough as well.
Well, in fairness, he did also say, they'll use the money to get back on their feet again. I mean, there's an entirely different conversation to be had about somebody who's 36 and can't bail himself out of a tricky spot.
But was it? But sorry, but what was that his like only source of income? The band?
Yeah, apparently so.
Oh, well.
He also said on the video that he's broke. So, not so sure it's a smart idea giving money to somebody, especially a 5-figure sum to somebody who's just admitted on video that he likes to play with the old snow. But that's that, again, that's also a separate conversation. But yeah, that's my view on it. I mean, at the end of the day, I would love for Vitriol to continue, but I think Kyle has. He's got some repair work to do, on himself and with his relationship with his fans.
Yeah, but I know, like, I don't know if he likes to go skiing. Why not?
No, I've never been a participant in the skiing game.
No, me neither.
I find people, generally speaking, that do it to be completely fucking unbearable to be around. So that's mostly what's put me off. But anyway, let's move on again to some more music. Can you speak French, Marco?
No.
Can you pronounce this name?
Even though I live like only like 45 minutes from the French border, I never I had it in school, but it was the first like topic in school that I didn't want to have anymore, and I chose a bit of Latin over French. I don't know why. And I work in a country which is where the people are dominantly speaking French, but I still don't know. That was a stupid choice, but my French is absolute shit.
Well, I'm now.
But I would pronounce it like Jours Pales.
I think you might be correct. By the way, I was about to stick it on the old English to French translation, but anyway, let's go with Jours Pales.
No, let's call them Jours Pales.
Jours Pales have just put out a brand new single taken from their new album Resonances, and the single is called Mouvement Ostentatoire Remanent Totalitaire. No idea what that means. No idea what this band sounds like, but let's give them a quick whirl. I'm going to cut that one short because I think we have officially found a band that I think is worse than Agriculture. That is fucking abysmal.
What do you know what I think? I think they're trying to, there's another French band as well, but we are not allowed to tell the name here on the show. And I think they're trying.
You're allowed to say whatever band you want to say on. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think they're trying to copy that because it sounds like they want to do that. I mean, your listeners will know anyway who I mean, but when they listen to that, but yeah, I don't like this. I don't like the vocals, even though I didn't want to say anything bad on this episode. Fuck. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, this is the place to say bad stuff, mate. I mean, we give enough praise to bands here that deserve it, but that is truly fucking atrocious. It really is. Agree with you. The vocals are a complete mess. I find it insulting that they would call this black metal. I don't know how you could call this black metal. Again, I understand black metal is it has become a big tent genre where there's a lot of different bands doing a lot of different things, but this is dog shit.
But did they call it black metal?
Yeah. On Metal Archives, it's down as black metal. I did a quick scan of what the song title meant, and actually Google Gemini brought them up as a black metal band as well. That's not black metal that I listen to, I'll tell you that much. That is some fucking straight up dog shit black metal.
Yeah, I mean something with totalitarian.
Yeah,
totalitarian movement of blah blah blah. I don't know.
Yeah, like remnant totalitarian movement. I mean, if there was truly a totalitarian movement, they would. If I headed up a totalitarian movement, they would be sent straight to the gulags. AV Overkill 1197 asks, "What were some of your non-music highlights of the year? Favorite TV show, favorite movie, etc." I've given up on modern television and mostly on modern movies as well, but I did very much enjoy Warfare, and I loved Weapons, movie-wise. TV show-wise, I haven't watched Alien Earth yet. It's on the list. I haven't watched Mobland yet. That's also on the list. But I started watching Tulsa King, got to season 3, realized that if Taylor Sheridan has anything to do with the TV show, I'll never watch it ever again. I won't even attempt to waste my time watching it. And as a palate cleanser, my wife and I are currently revisiting Fargo season 1, and we'll make our way through probably to the end of season 3, possibly watch season 5, give season 4 a skip. And then when I come back from South Africa, we'll try Alien Earth and whatnot. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I can tell you my least favorite, Predator Badlands, biggest load of shit that's ever fucking been committed to film. Did you see anything, or did you was there anything non-music related that stands out as a highlight of your 2025 aside from talking to me?
As a highlight, you mean like a highlight overall? I mean, like I'm not I don't watch TV at all except for football when it's on. And
actually, you know what? You just raised something there. Here's a highlight: South Africa beating France with 14 to 15 men. South Africa beating Ireland and making them look weak in the scrum, and then South Africa beating Wales. And by the way, I'm talking about South African rugby here, man sports. South Africa beating Wales by the highest margin they have ever been beaten at in their history of the sport at home. Those were my highlights of the year.
They're pretty good, aren't they?
Oh, I mean, right now, Springbok rugby is, and I not to turn this into a sports conversation, but you know, you have to take the sour with the sweet. They will have a down period again at some point, but holy fuck, right now, South African rugby is in a unassailable position. And whenever I watch them play, the fucking pride beats out of my chest. So,
when's the next World Cup? The World Cup in rugby is every 2 years, right?
2027. Okay. So
okay.
I've already put in for the lottery for 2027 for tickets. The plan was to visit there anyway, but like I think if ever in my lifetime there's going to be an opportunity for a team, and in my case South Africa, to win the Rugby World Cup 3 times in a row, it is with this generation of players, and I would absolutely kick myself if I were not there for the final. So I have already said to Paige, we will spare no expense. If we can get tickets, we are definitely going. I cannot miss that.
Where's the World Cup?
Australia.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
I've got many homies in Australia, so that's going to be absolutely fine. I mean, and I won't even need to worry about a place to stay. I can stay with my friend Andre. But yeah, I'm never going to miss that for anything, especially not if we make it to the final.
Yeah, you shouldn't. But is there even like a German rugby team? I've never heard of them, to be honest.
I don't know. I mean, they're not. They wouldn't be considered a tier 1 rugby nation. Put it that way.
No, absolutely not. No, because Germany is all about football. It's football and football and like here, and then there's like maybe I don't know basketball and handball here. You know.
Here in the UK, there's football, rugby, and knife fighting. That's very popular. That's very popular in downtown London. The Germany National Rugby Union team is the national team of the 3rd tier rugby union playing nation, Germany. They first played in 1927 and have yet to qualify for the Rugby World Cup.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah. Oh well, it's the thing with rugby is you also can't thumb your nose at countries that don't play it. It's not the most popular sport. In South Africa, it is religion. I mean, really, like it is. It's the sport that genuine. Like one of the things I'm excited about when I'm in South Africa next week is the whole fucking country is going to be in the best possible mood because the Springboks are doing well, and you can feel it. Like when you walk in the streets, you can walk past anybody, and everyone is friendly. Everyone is in a fantastic mood, and it is all because the national rugby team is achieving such incredible results at the moment.
That's the same here in Germany with football, especially when in 2014 when we became world champion. Holy fuck! I've never seen such an atmosphere anywhere. You know, of course, the Sunday, the final was on Sunday, and I had to work on Monday, but I just couldn't do it. I think I came home on Monday morning at like 7 in the morning or something.
Holy shit!
because the whole town was buzzing, and it was absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah. All right, let's listen to another song. Slaughterday have premiered a brand new song called Dread Emperor. Death metalers Slaughterday offer a first glimpse upon the new album Dread Emperor, which will be released on the 13th of February 2026 via Testimony Records. Check out a music video for the title track. Guitarist Jens Finger says Dread Emperor is quintessential Slaughterday, an unrelenting journey through old-school death metal from slow, crushing doom to blistering aggressions, crowned with soaring melodic solos. No idea what these guys sound like. Do you?
No.
Never heard them before in my life. Quintessential Slaughterday. You may as well say quintessential rock set. But let's hear what this sounds like. Let me ask you a quick question before I tell you what I think of the song. How far from Leer in Lower Saxony are you?
Oof. I think that would be like 400 kilometers.
Okay,
Wait,
so
let me
a ways
check.
off. I was wondering whether you might be, whether you might know Bernd Reiners, the vocalist for this band, who has a serious set of fucking lungs on him. He reminds me a little bit of Greg McIntosh, and as a matter of fact, the band generally reminds me a bit of early Paradise Lost, Strigoi, Valenfires. I mean, you know, those obviously are newer bands, but there's definitely someone who you know plays in this band definitely like them some Lost Paradise and Gothic. No question about that.
Yeah, that's pretty old school. Well, I just checked. Like it's about like 450 kilometers, or like what's that in miles? Like
about 250 miles.
250 miles. Yeah,
yeah,
far away.
All right. Well, get in the car and drive over to see the Slaughterday gang and tell them I said, well done, great song, getting a top notch for me.
Yeah, it's I like it as well. It's old school. Gives me a bit of like Morgoth vibes, maybe. If I'm not
maybe
completely
a little bit.
wrong. Yeah.
As I said, for me, it was like old school Paradise Lost was what was coming screaming out there. But what I'm really impressed with is that that singer, like I said, Bernd Reiners. Yes, what a fucking voice on him. So you know, I was so impressed. I just cursed in Afrikaans. Well, actually, blasphemed technically in Afrikaans. Yeah, great stuff. Definite thumbs up. Actually, frankly, I'm in such a great mood. Top notch for me. All right, let's go for another question. Nordic Cadaver, what do you think of the Cradle of Filth lawsuit? I've had a lot of questions about this one as well. Now, again, quick summary for everybody so they know what this is all about. Basically, 6 former Cradle of Filth band members are taking Danny Filth to court in Arizona. The summary of allegation. Yeah, well, I think it's Arizona because of where the Cradle of Filth management is based. Because I mean, Danny doesn't live there; he lives in the UK. But as far as I know, Oracle Management, who they are represented by, owned by Des Fafaro, they're based out of Arizona, so that might be why the lawsuit is taking place there. But basically, they're suing Cradle of Filth for unpaid royalties and compensation, misuse of likeness and copyright, unauthorized use of IP, defamation, unprofessional behavior and contracts, and damaged equipment. So there you go.
Wait, did you just say Des Fafaro? Was that the same guy that played in like Electric Wizard?
No. Des Fafaro of Cold Chamber and Devil Driver fame.
Wait, what was the guy in Electric Wizard?
The guy in Electric Wizard you're thinking of is...
no, that was Taz. Okay.
Yeah,
okay. So, well, that was well. I just thought like, that weird name. You know, it's from somewhere.
Yeah, slightly different. But yeah, so
sorry,
Des has been managing Cradle of Filth since 2018. And like I said, my assumption is, I don't know for sure, but my assumption is they're based out of Arizona. The other thing that I'd also read is that apparently the laws in the states governing intellectual property and likeness, copyright, etc., it does tend to favor the artist a lot more so than it does elsewhere. So again, that might be why they're suing them in the States rather than here in the UK. I mean, either way, it sounds like this is just going to be a fucking catastrophe for all involved. It's going to be a lot of money, a lot of fucking time. I don't personally think, even if there is some sort of compensation, and I think there will be some degree of compensation paid to the 6 former members, but even if there is, I think they have unfortunately... They've now created an issue whereby people are going to be nervous about hiring them into their band again, especially because of how outspoken they've been after the fact. Danny, I think everybody just kind of figured that he was a money grubbing sleazebag, and I don't really think that they'll care. I don't see Cradle of Filth taking a hit from a fan base perspective for this, or from a merchandise
but it could be kind of crucial for the future of Cradle of Filth as well. Like, I mean, money wise, of course, and reputation wise, I think all of that shit show that happened there, that like damaged them anyway.
Mm.
At least what with the things I read about all of that, like everyone like blaming Danny. I mean, I was never a fan of Cradle of Filth, and I still think it's just not my the things I would go to. Let's say.
Not your tempo.
not my tempo, exactly. But yeah, especially with that last incident that happened, and all that shit that was thrown from either sides, I don't think that's good for marketing.
No, I would agree. Now, apparently, the requested remedies in this court case are an order for the band to stop selling and destroy any merchandise featuring their likenesses, compensatory and punitive damage for financial losses, emotional distress, and reputational harm, a jury trial, so they clearly want to try and make him look as bad as possible, and coverage of all legal fees. So, I think two things are right here. I think one, artists and musicians need to actually take the time to read over their contracts properly. I think two, the contracts probably had a bunch of spurious bullshit in that, either aren't enforceable or potentially missed things like, somebody having to give express permission for use of their likeness in a music video or something like that.
But what I don't understand is that when you are getting handed a shit contract, right, and you read through it and you still sign it, then it's your own fault, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's my point. I mean, nowadays in particular, you've got ChatGPT or Grok or Gemini to be able to do that for you. You literally just copy the portion of the contract that you have questions over into the the question box or the comment box, and say, highlight what I need to be concerned. I'm about to sign this. Highlight what I need to be concerned about.
Yeah, but if you sign it anyway, then it's your own fault, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, you could still consult like a lawyer or something, or like hand it to someone that understands actually something about contracts. But if you just blindly sign something just to be in that and that band, and you basically know that that they are fucking with you.
Well, this was also a thought that I had, when it comes to who actually comes off worse. Yeah, there will still be a line of people that are desperate to play for Cradle of Filth just to be able to say, I played for Cradle of Filth.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if you accept everything that is written in there and you put your signature on it, then it's not the fault of the people that hand you the contract, and it's your fault for putting the signature on it.
Yeah, well, I agree. But as I said, I think the fallout is people would be more nervous about hiring these people. However, I don't necessarily think I don't think that Danny's going to struggle to get people to play in the band. I really don't.
No, that's the thing, because like they're a well-known band, and yeah, I mean, if you want to be a slave, then do it. But you're basically agreeing to the terms and conditions of the contract when you sign it. So that's what contracts are for. So you agree to certain things, and if you don't agree, you just don't put your signature on it.
It sounds to me like they're short of a guitar player, mate, which means there might be an opportunity for you to step into the breach.
Yes, exactly, because I'm Joe Satriani, number 2.
I mean, I know you're more of a drummer, but you can play guitar, can't you?
No. I tried a bit of bass, because that's more like the rhythm thing. But guitar is too delicate for me. I'm the guy for the rough stuff.
for the rough and tumble. All right, no, fair enough. Yes, something else I wanted to talk to you about before we listen to another song. Sepultura announced their final European show ever. Legendary Brazilian Sepultura have announced their biggest Irish headline show in the 3 Arena on Sunday, August the 9th, 2026. They're going to be supported by Biohazard, Malevolence, Sacred Reich, and Crypta. You are going to be headed there?
I don't know. First, I have to ask my boss if I can get a day off, but nah, I don't think so. I've seen Sepultura so many times. I've even seen them with Igor on drums, but that's just not my version of Sepultura. You know, you still have Kissa and you still have Paulo there, and I even liked them when Eloy was playing drums there because I think he's a phenomenal drummer. But I'm just not interested in them anymore. Like you know, like you can't listen. You can listen to their last few albums, but it's nothing groundbreaking that I would like especially go to like Dublin for. To be honest, I mean, like I love Sacred Reich and I love Malevolence as well. But yeah, that wouldn't be something I would travel for. To be honest, really. Like I've seen and heard enough of Sepultura, and now, you know what I don't like about Sepultura is like they're announcing their end, and you know, when did they announce it? Like 2 or 3 years ago, when they said like we're gonna call it quits, and they're still touring the world. Like I don't, it's pointless, really. Like it's my opinion, you know.
Well,
I mean,
I think it turned out to be a bit of a damp squib, their retirement. And the one thing that I would say is, look, my position has always been on Sepultura. I think that, you know, post Max Sepultura would have been far more warmly received had they changed their name. At the time, it was, I think, short-sighted. It was probably the influence of various business people saying, I can get you on a Slayer tour, or I can get you on a Metallica tour, or whatever it might be, a tour with Korn or fucking, you know, God, fuck knows who else. But they stuck with the name. They shouldn't have done it. There are some albums that they released after Max that I enjoy, but the problem is, so few people, I think, relatively speaking, were ever able to get past the Max Cavalera era.
No,
understandably so, for exactly the same reason as I won't get past the Aaron Stainthorpe era of My Dying Bride. And so now that they're retiring, it's kind of like no one cares. And then the other thing that I would say, I'm also, it's grown a little long in the tooth for me, is the constant back and forth between Max and Andreas. It's like, guys, we get it. You don't like each other. I also have obviously interviewed a couple of people in my day. Just say I don't want to speak about it anymore, because you're actually doing more damage allowing yourself to be dragged into a conversation about your thoughts on Max Cavalera or your thoughts on Andreas Kisser than you are by just going, you know, that's ancient fucking history. I don't want to talk about it anymore.
But it's like keeping them in the spotlight. Like both Max and Andreas or Paulo or whoever, if that topic comes up, it gets distributed on every news site, on every metal news site, saying like oh there's like Max again shooting against Kisser, and it's a headline, you know, on your favorite news page, Blabbermouth, for example, right? It's
on
like
the Democrats' guys of rock music.
Exactly, and every time one of them like opens their mouth, they're making headlines again, and they're generating like clicks and whatnot and streams. I don't get it, really. Like I love, for example, I love the Cavalera brothers, like re-recordings of the old Sepultura stuff. Like they sound absolutely fucking bombastic. I love it. I love it. They almost sound better than the original. Where of course it isn't quite difficult because they were recorded poorly, but I think they still got, in these like re-recordings, they still got like the spirit in it, because they were the ones that were like the main actors in there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I would agree with you, and absolutely on the same page about those re-recordings. They are fucking brilliant, absolutely fucking brilliant. But anyway, yeah, it to me, it's just you think about what could have been, This just sort of feels like it's a. I think there's so many people that are indifferent to this retirement, and honestly, based on some of the quality of the the new Megadeth releases, I think that's how their retirement is going to end up being too.
But if but one point I want to make, like if you announce your retirement, right? For me, it would be like, look, I play like one more tour maybe, and then that's it. Okay, that's what I would tell my fans. But how many shows did they play in the last? I don't know how many years it is ago since they announced their retirement, and they're still like going on and going on and going on and going on. You know, and I don't believe it, to be honest, at this point. When they announced their final European show, what does that mean? What does it mean? Will they tour South America and North America for the next 10 years as a farewell?
Yeah,
it's the same with Megadeth. I don't believe it.
You could argue it's the same with Slayer as well. I mean, they did their reunion or their retirement tour.
They played their last show in Los Angeles, saying like, "This is it. This is our last show." And then 2 years later, they pop up again, saying like, "Yeah, we're just playing assorted festivals." It's just not trustworthy to me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if there would be a new Slayer album, to be honest.
Well, I definitely wouldn't be surprised about that. But I did call it when that retirement happened. I think I remember I posted something on Facebook and I said until you reunite in 2022 or something fucking obnoxious like that. Anyway, let's listen to another song. Angel Maker revealed "This Used to Be Heaven" video. Angel Maker have launched a brand new music video for "This Used to Be Heaven," the title track off their recently released studio record. The video clip was directed by Mitch Oliver. The fact that they've already released the album and I have no fucking idea who this is suggests to me that I won't like this, but let's give it a spin anyway. I'm gonna call time on that one. What a fucking bucket of bullshit.
I love it.
The music video, the treatment that whoever wrote this treatment, I don't know how they came up with the idea, but it's some sort of soppy fucking romantic crap. The guy is it looks like he's about to kiss his girlfriend in the neck, and then he discovers that she has some sort of crazy growth, some sort of wild ass pimple, and instead of giving her the number to a fucking dermatologist, we kick into that deathcore shit that we just heard.
I was just missing the Dracula teeth. You know?
It was. I mean, that truly is terrible. Apparently, they're unsigned as well. I'm not surprised.
I would sign them in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, honestly, as deathcore goes, they would fit in with the rest of the genre quite
Wait,
easily. But
let's see where they're from, because if they
they're from Canada.
Oh,
They're from
okay.
North Vancouver, Canada. Like I would have thought with the opening of that music video, I was like 100%. This must be Romania, or I mean, I don't know, no hate on Romania, but it must be like from you know. There's certain countries. I mean, frankly, even South Africa. There's certain countries where there's just like this vibe about their music videos and about the way they present themselves. Like we're not used to doing this.
But honestly, I really thought that they were about like from I don't know, like Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, something like that region. To be honest, really, because you've got lots of stuff
Yeah,
like that over here.
yeah. Lots of lame shit.
Yeah, but yeah, that would be my new favorite Canadian band. Then I guess fuck Voivod, fuck them all. Like I'm going for Angel Maker
Forget
now.
about None So Vile. You want to
Yeah.
you want to hear something really heavy? Check out that new
Yeah.
Angel Maker.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, speaking of a band who is most definitely not lame, I had a request from L.W. Speakman for you and I to do a ranking of our favorite Immortal albums.
Ooh.
And for me, that is pretty easy, and I don't think anyone's going to be shocked to learn what my number one Immortal album is. Battles in the North,
Well,
unequivocally, best of the best.
yeah, for me too. Battles in the North. Then I would say Pure Holocaust. Then I would say Blizzard Beasts, because I like
Blizzard
like
Beasts number 3.
Yeah, I would say
Okay.
I just like that kind of steady thing going on there, you know. Yeah. Then I would say, whoa, the first one,
Diabolical Full Moon Mysticism.
exactly that. And then I would say, like the last one, like Demonos did on himself.
War Against All.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would have it Battles in the North, At the Heart of Winter. By the way, you don't like At the Heart of Winter enough to stick it higher up on the list?
Something I would have to think about, but these spontaneous things are like always a bit like, it's always like a caught in the act, you know. You have to think about something spontaneously.
Yeah,
But
no, I know.
Yeah, I like At the Heart of Winter as well. I basically don't like things like All Shall Fall, for example, like, you know, because no, wait, yes,
Well, I think All Shall Fall is their weakest album, so that would be my number 10. So I've got At the Heart of Winter number 2, Pure Holocaust number 3, Blizzard Beasts number 4, Sons of Northern Darkness number 5, Damned in Black number 6. I would say Damned in Black hits number 6 by virtue of the title track. That's like an incredible song. Diabolical Full Moon Mysticism is number 7. Northern Chaos Guards is number 8. War Against All is number 9. All Shall Fall is number 10. Like I think you can hear with All Shall Fall that there was dissension in the ranks. The band were not happy. They were not happy making music anymore. Making music together, I should say.
Why wouldn't they be happy anymore?
Well, I mean, do we even know the reason why Abath and Demonaz split up?
No, that's why I'm asking.
Yeah.
So we don't know the reason, right?
No.
So must have been something personal. I mean, these guys, they knew each other for like the rest of for all of their lives, basically.
Well, I did not know this, but Abath was apparently married to Demonaz's sister.
Yeah, I know.
She wore him a son. But dude, just on At the Heart of Winter, when I saw Abath play at Beyond the Gates and he did Withstand the Fall of Time, that is serious fucking goosebumps. And then the other thing that they did that was incredible, I mean, it's such a famous song, such quintessential black metal, but Blashker, Mighty Raven's Dark, holy fuck. Like when he did when he just does the call, when he does he actually had a missed cue on the like when they performed it. So he there was like a missed timing, and so he did it for a second time, and it almost made it cooler just because there was that mistake.
Now I love the early albums of Immortal as well. When Abath was still playing drums.
Yeah,
I mean, it was obviously super fast, absolutely unhinged as well. But I love that they left all that mistakes and imperfections in there as well, because that shaped like the character of these albums, you know.
Yeah.
Because
if you re-recorded, if you re-recorded Battles in the North and you gave it like a full Pro Tools redo and everything is like, you know, super crisp and clean and digital, it would sound fucking horrible. I would advocate for you to be flogged and thrown in prison.
No, I don't think it would work. Then it would just be another overproduced shit album. To be honest, really, I like that rawness and that coldness in the guitars, even, you know.
Yeah,
I think that's something really hard to reproduce.
It's you know what's brilliant about that album? It's that rawness, it's the harshness, but it's also it's such a fucking unhinged record. It really sounds like two dudes that are trying to make the most cacophonous, like Nordic noise they can possibly muster in the space of however long. I mean, the album I think is only 35 minutes long. Just the way that the drums kick in, you know, and it's just like fucking he's just beating the drums like it owes him money.
Yeah, and these hard cuts in the drums when the song ends, like the dead end. You know, like without any like simple sounds at the end and whatnot. It's like dead end. I love it really. Like, dude, I mean, it's absolutely impossible to recreate, in my opinion.
I agree. I completely agree. You could not, in a million months of Sundays, you could not possibly redo that album. You couldn't.
No.
All right, let's check out another song. Barbarian drop a new single. Italian Blackened Thrashers Barbarian have unleashed Mercy Swallower, the second single off their upcoming 6th LP, Reek of God. The latter comes out January the 23rd, 2026 through Dying Victims Productions. Not bad. I feel like with Blackened Thrash, Daiva set such an incredibly high benchmark with through Sheer Will and Black Magic, and no band, in my view, I love the genre, I love the subgenre, I should say, but no band has been able to come anywhere close to that.
No. Yeah, it's okay. It's nothing that would me like go out of the house. To be honest, but,
nothing that would make you not want to listen to Unchain the Wolves. Or sorry,
I don't know that band that played that song.
You could get arrested nowadays for that kind of music as well. Which
it's
which
good that I don't know.
Good that you've never heard of them before.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap up with two questions. The first one comes from our man Drugoth. He says, "What has really impressed you this year?" I don't want to give away what is going to be in my top 30, but I would say a recent release that really impressed me was the new Bloodhouse Nord. And I think it's possibly because it's not what I expected Vince Vaughn to do. But my God, what a record. And then the other one that's really impressed me is the new Lamp of Murmur album, again, because it took me completely by surprise. It is a totally different album to anything that I've heard M from Lamp of Murmur do. And especially the Fields of the Nephilim influences on the later part of the record are fantastic. So, yeah, in terms of being impressed, those are two that have recently impressed me. Anything that's impressed you?
It's always so fucking hard to tell. Let me think. What was this year? Like, I always get it mixed up, you know.
This year, that new
But-
Thorns demo really blew me away.
Yeah, I mean, Pluto's Nord is always great. I like the past album as well.
Me too.
But it's somehow like it somehow lacks that kind of dissonance that always that was the trademark of Pluto's Nord for me, you know. But Jesus Christ, the last Tetragrammacyte records was like really good to me. That one and it's always so hard when people like
you got me interested in Tetragrammacyte actually, and I agree that's a great band, and it's a band that is probably a little bit slept on, in my opinion.
Yeah, because they're on a small label. They are not being they're not yet in the like mainstream. They're still like super underground. But I love what they do, and especially that they come from India. Is something else. But who would expect like a black metal band that actually is doing solid stuff coming from India?
Yeah, well, especially the kind of black metal they make, because I mean, it is really like relentless, fucking violent black metal. Like the way black metal should be made.
Exactly. What other album? What really impressed me? Was the last Yurtsuk album, where the singer from Coldbrand is playing.
Oh yeah, agree with you.
That was fucking fantastic.
Well, the last Coldbrand album I thought was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, but that Yurtsuk is like a mixture between Coldbrand and Aura Noir.
Yeah.
In my opinion, and that was absolutely gorgeous as well. Then of course, oh no, that was last year. Forget. Fuck.
I keep expecting you to say, then of course, oh wait, that was 1993.
I really liked that last Profanatica EP.
Yeah. I knew that would be up your street.
Yeah, yes, of course, because it's just you know, what else? Let me think about it. Was that last Sabbath album coming out this year as well, or was it last year?
I
think
I don't know. Yeah, no idea actually. Which gives away that it's not going to be. If it did come out this year, it's one of my top 30.
Then the Titan Blood album, from the Visceria Abyss, was absolutely great as well, in my opinion.
Well, if we go to earlier in the year, again, a record that really impressed me and still continues to impress me, I go back to it continually, is the new Scour album. I think I honestly, I don't know of a single person that wasn't blown away by that, no matter what style of music you're into or how cult, true, necro, or grim you are. They really fucking knocked it out of the park with that record.
Yeah, and what really impressed me as well, it's not metal. It's the last US Christmas album. It's called Cannibals of Unaka. So if
I've never heard of that.
So if anyone is interested in melancholic, just vibey, moody stuff with synthesizers, then you're welcome. Look it up. US Christmas, Cannibals of Unaka.
Say thank you to Marco.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's wrap up
yeah.
with the final question at Raw Black Aura. What's been your proudest moment doing the podcast thus far, and what's been the thing you've regretted most? My proudest moment, it's very hard to say because there have been many. I obviously was super in my element when I was talking to Gall. When I had Nick Holmes on the podcast, I was doing fucking cartwheels. The 12-year-old or 14-year-old in me was whooping from the rooftops. Honestly, this year, one of the proudest moments doing the show was having Christopher Necroshorns offer to take my photo. I didn't ask. He just said, it's time we took a photo of you. And I was like, I couldn't believe it. And when he showed me the end result, I was just absolutely fucking beaming from ear to ear. Like the guy who, in my opinion, is the very best of the best music photographer to ever live. I mean, he runs circles around anyone else, including Ross Helfin and anyone who dares call themselves a legend. And he was willing to take my photo when he's taken, not even willing, like offered to take my photo when there's so many other people who who he's photographed over the years, and he's taken so many iconic photographs. That meant the world to me, and that was probably my proudest moment of the year.
He's a great photographer, and I love the lighting in his photos as well.
Yeah. You know how quickly they took that photo of me. It was literally 10 seconds. He found a spot in the room that he said this is going to work. He rushed up there. He told his what's his name? I think his girlfriend, or I think it might be his girlfriend. Hold this light. Said stand there. Took the photo. That's it. It's like it's literally 10 seconds.
That's how you can spot professional people.
Yeah,
really, they have an eye for that.
He's amazing, and I've loved having him on the podcast too. Like the stories he tells, the way that he approaches photography as a medium just is mind-blowing to me. Thing I've regretted most, the absolutely fucking disastrous and disgraceful design ideas that I implemented in the video version of the podcast early on. There was that awful fucking animated loop with with a fire that I used. There was that stupid fucking blue background that I used, but those days are behind me now. The show looks possible, so if that didn't completely put you off and you're still with me, then I very much appreciate it. On that note, I'm going to wrap up and say, firstly, Marco, thank you very much for coming on and doing the news rant with me. Great to have you here. We'll definitely have another one of these before episode 400, but you'll always be there for the centennials, I think.
Yeah, I would be even there for 350 as well. Like,
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, we'll maybe do something before then. There's always, the Legion always demands that Marco comes on the news rant. I want to say massive thank you again to Frost for his time. What a fucking great conversation. What a way to have episode 300. And then to the Legion, thank you very much. I am going to be playing out with a song that is near and dear to my heart, should be near and dear to yours. I'm back on January the 20th for episode 301, part 1 in the top 30 of 2025 countdown. I mean, the only other thing that's left to say is however you choose to spend the Yuletide, the festive period, however you choose to celebrate your New Year, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you bad motherfuckers in 2026.